Got it all cleaned up. This thing is built really good. They did a jam up job building these old VRs. It's just all good quality stuff. You can tell by the metal, you know. There's some damage here from rust, but it ain't gonna affect anything. We'll clean that up a little bit more before I put it in there. The bronze bushing down in there, it's the pinion support. That's the pinion gear for the sun. I mean for the planetary set. That drives everything, that little gear. Pinion support's good. There's a little bit of play in it, but probably not too much out of tolerance. I'll let that ride. The armature's good. I mean the commutator. The smaller you make the commutator, the faster a turn, but we're not going to monkey with it. But the brake hub's okay. It spins that brake and unlocks it in here as it's turning the winch. See, it lines those two pins up. It lines that one up at an angle with that one back there in the back that's straight, if you can see it. And that releases the clutch. And then it turns, and as soon as you let off the motor, it locks back to that position and locks the clutch up. The clutch is working good. I got all the rust off the drum. This bearing here is a little dry. We may pull the end caps off of that and press it out and redo it. The little bull gear here is okay. It's got some rust on it. The brushes are marginal, but we can replace these with it together. The end cap just comes right off on this, so that'd be easy to fix. At least we got all the mud out of it. We're going to put the planetaries, lay it out right there, and put that together first. Let's set y'all up. Alright boys, let's go. As here we say here in the South, I had some company. Stop by. Like this winch is built good though. I think this is I think these are powder metal gears, which are really what they use in all the power tools. There's some wear on that. I mean, that's why I just wanted to upgrade to another winch. Yeah, let's see if we can blow this over. Y'all can see it. But this thing did its job. I mean, I have no complaints on it. You can see down in there in the teeth. I hope you can anyway. I'll keep turning it at different angles. But like I said, it'd be a good backup winch. Anyway, we'll put it back together, and it is what it is. Okay, that's everything for the planetary set. Ring gear they call it, but I would call that a sun gear. Pinion gear. I don't have the breakdown on it, so we're going to go by memory. But if we get stumped, I'll go get the breakdown on it online. Cleaned all this out with mineral spirits. Alright, first thing we need to do is put that selector back in there. See how y'all's angle is. Back you up where you get, or maybe right there. So if I'm taller than the top of that oil, that grease thing, you can't see me, so I'll remember that. Let's get that mineral spirits out of there. Jam screw that goes in there. Make sure that's right. just got like a cam deal that locks that gear, this gear, up and down. Alright, now that's better. Now we'll do pinion. Put the first planetary set in. These are all like oil light bronze bushings in these pins. So they're self-lubricating, but we'll put grease on the gears pretty liberally. Put some in here on this gear and it'll work its way around in there. Let's put the second set in. The old lady hates the smell of this grease. She will notice it as soon as she gets home. And then our gear here goes down. Let's put some grease on all these points where it rotates. It's going to take a while, guys, so if you don't like stuff like this, you might want to wait for the next one. Okay, we're going to leave that down flat. I'm going to turn it straight up to get that in there. Just down in there like that. Then there's a snap ring and this little backer ring. Or no, the backer ring goes on top of the snap ring. Let's make sure we're all good here. Let's get the drive shaft and test as we go. We're going to flip this upside down. Snap ring in. It goes down in a groove down in there. Okay. Be that section. Okay, it locks that outer gear there, or it lets it free spin. Yeah, that's how it unlocks. That little horseshoe cam sits in this gear to lock it, to let it spin the planets around it to turn that gear. So if you let it free, it just free spins. And then when you lock it, it locks it. Okay. Now we had that ring there, and this planet set. Let's put some more grease down in here. this planet set. See, that's all rusted up too from that water getting in there. But it's good metal, so it, you know, it just kind of surface rusted it. Like I said, these pins they have a Olight brass bushing in there. They don't require as much lubricant. They're lubricated themselves. And there's that planet. Oh, this planetary set's 262 to 1. So 262 revolutions of that little drive shaft to turn that drum one time, which is how it makes its power. Put some on this gear. Like so. Put some on the outside to keep it from rusting anymore. This thing had that lithium sulfide grease in it, that black, really expensive stuff is what this thing came with. It didn't come with just regular grease in it. I noticed it when I was washing it that it was pretty tough stuff. Now our bull gear will go right here. You see where it was pushing on that pretty hard. We're going to flip that. It's not timed or anything. There's that. That's our planetary set. And we got this gear in here in the housing that locks down on top of that. And we have a gasket that goes in between. Okay, we got our mark that we made. I'll find it in a second. I know that lever goes to the top and that goes down like so. It's nice and smooth now. You can barely see that big bull gear turning. That little drive motor's got to be humming along pretty fast. And we got our bushing. This is our bushing, our plastic bushings for the drum. Put some grease on that. It goes onto a little pin notch right there. Alright. Gasket. I gotta put a gasket in there. It's pinned, the case is. Okay, screws. Lord have mercy. Let's pull this back out and check our alignment. Sometimes if you run your bolts through your gasket, if it's a tight fit, like this seems to be, it helps like on a transmission pan, that's good to do. Sometimes you can start your bolts on your training pan through the new gasket. Got 2 and 2. Okay. And it helps hold your gasket in place. Should still have the wrench up here somewheres right here. T25s. This thing will work better just from, and I'm sure I did order the Warren Xeon winch. This is an 8,000 pound winch. It's always did me good, so that's what I got again. I like the smaller winches because they go more line speed from what I've seen, and it'll work good on my Jeep. It always has. This has always been plenty for my Jeep. Most anybody I pulled out, if y'all watched all my videos, you see me pull out a F250 with this winch. So we got an 8,000 pound winch, but I'm thinking the way that Xeon's made, it'll be stronger than this is at 8,000 pounds. Yeah, it might max out 8,000 pounds of line pull, but it's got bus bars instead of wires for the motor. It's got big bus bars in there, so it should be stronger from what I've seen on the teardown of it, because every little inch of wire you put on there, I'm going to put my phone on airplane mode, guys, but every little inch of wire you put on something that's DC, the more it draws or takes the amperage away. So less wire, more amperage. And that Xeon's got a pretty good setup on it. Plus it's got a more efficient motor, it says. But we'll see. It's got a 10-year warranty on it. I think a lifetime warranty and 10-year on the electrical. This probably still had warranty on it, but I'm not going to fill something up with mud and then try to get it warranted. I don't roll like that. Alright, our lock's working good. Let's set the gear train aside. We're through with the grease for now. Alright, let's get the motor. That bearing's not got bad spots in it, but it's a little, sounds a little dry. Nah, it's fine. It's fine. It'll be fine. I'll tell you what. We can go ahead and put the drum on there and bolt the end cap on, put the motor on it, and this will move a lot faster. Let's do that. Then your drum goes on the bull gear right there on that little surface. I cleaned that with sandpaper. Let's put a little bit of grease on it just to keep it kind of sealed. These aren't sealed at all as far as water. I like grease. It's cheaper than metal. Alright. This side of the drum will go in there like so. Probably need to pull that drive shaft out maybe. Do it like this. The drive shaft goes in a little drive mechanism down in there. We're going to flip it. That's the way it was with the monkeyed up end. The other end's kind of twisted. This end uses less of the shaft. It only uses that much. We'll put the twisted end down in the gear where it uses that much of it. You know what I'm saying? Kind of flip-flop it. Let's see if this will work. Let's test our free spool. Yep, the free spools. Alright, locked. Now we can put, our end cap had a spacer on the motor, so this should go flat down with the drive. My daughter came out and said, hey, she's headed to work now, spending school all day. I'm proud of my kids, boy. They all do really good. I got 5 kids, and they all do pretty good. They all do real good. I'm proud of all of them. I got one that's going into law enforcement. I got one that's a Marine. I got one that's going to school to be a nurse. That's her there. I got one that's a mommy, and she's got 2 kids, and she has a husband and fiance. And I got an older son that's he likes to ramble, so he's out doing his thing, acting like his daddy, enjoying life. All my kids do good. It's a good feeling. You don't see them all as much as you want to, your kids. When you get my age, you younger guys will see. You don't get to see them as much as you'd like to, but you know, you can't complain about it because they're doing what you raised them to do. Go out and be men and women, productive men and women is my thing. I want my kids to be productive citizens, and they are. Not be a drain on everybody else. That's the way I raised them. Because I've always been that way. Shit, I left home when I was about to turn 18, and that was it. I was out, bud. Out for the count. I haven't been back. But I had a skill I could use. If there's one thing I could tell everybody, learn a skill, man. Once you have a skill that you can use, mechanic work, whatever it is, you're unstoppable. If you're a mechanic, you can always get a job somewhere. If you don't like what you're doing, there's always somewhere else to go. It's been my experience. If one of these would ever be to fail, it would be that little drive shaft. If it was just free spinning, it would be that drive shaft. If it was just not turning at all, it'd be the brushes. The brush holders and the brushes themselves are copper impregnated carbon brushes, which are good brushes. They got good parts in these things, and the brushes are not going to fail. It would burn the wire off of those brushes before the brush itself failed. From what I'm seeing, you don't see brushes that good in forklifts. They're a lot softer, and they break down quicker. Those are some good brushes, good brush holders and stuff in those things. Warren makes a good winch, for sure. I'm impressed. If I could find the right socket, we'd be in business here. Y'all still in frame? Yep. We may build a thing on the back of the Jeep and put this on the back. Okay. Got the gear train, the drums back on. Let's do something with the motor. I cleaned the armature already. Put a little bit of grease on those splines. Let's rub that in where it doesn't get on the armature. Man, that's a low geared sucker. Okay. Tell you what. Let's build the motor and then we'll slide the motor in there. We're supposed to have this washer right here. Let's see if that's right. Yeah, it's got a shoulder on it. It's got a shoulder on it right there that catches. Keeps it from, gives it a thrust, a little bit of a thrust. Alright, let's slide this out of the way. Let's pull the motor back out. I really just want to test it. It's locked up. Okay, it's all right. Maybe. See if I can make this work. Too small, I think. We can get two of them in there, we can hold the other two. Hold the other two by hand. Okay. That one. Like I said, we can change these brushes anytime. This end cap comes right off. So I may locate some at work because I bet I can get them at work. Remember our mark, and there's our mark. Set this down over the commutator. The brushes ain't worn much at all. We usually do this at work, and the motor's up underneath a forklift or in a damn hole where you can't even get to it, and it is a pain in the butt when it's like that. But it's all part of the job. I went and helped a guy today with a set of brushes on a old Crown. push it down, or zip tie should pop right off. Very good. Oh man, I couldn't even see what I was doing. Well, that sucks. Anyway, our zip ties were on there, and when we pushed it down on there, it just pushes the zip ties off. Now we get to connect it. It's got a negative for this brush. That's a positive, negative, 180, and a positive over here, tying it to the windings. I got some little plates that go down in there. I'm sorry I got that out of frame. I wasn't paying attention. I was trying to fight the brushes in. 3. I'll put this in without dropping it. Looks like I'm missing a screw. Maybe not. Loosen this one back up. That was not wanting to line up. That's all she needed. So that brush is a negative, and then 180 from it will be a negative. Loose. We got 2 positives through the motor lead. Through the field windings. There's a big cable that goes down into the windings, field windings. Put that brush on there, that won't work. This one. Just gonna go up a little bit, down like this. That's it. Something to line that up better. This is so stiff and that's so stiff it doesn't want to give any wiggle room. See if that'll work. Got her. Okay. One more. This one is the other side of the positive. See, we got plenty of brush wear. I'm going to fold your cables over just to where they got some, because they move in and out. Now we got to gingerly pull that back off. Did I put the spacer in there? Did y'all see me put that spacer in there? I think I did. I got to check. I did. Okay. That's locked in. It's free. Alright. Spray a little brake clean on that commutator. Get any of that mineral spirits off of there. Just a little bit. Alright. End cap. This don't really matter, but we did mark it, so let's put it back where our marks were. It should be right there. Just make it easier on the next guy, if it ain't me. Alright, and we got our two motor bolts. Started. That one started. That one no starty. So let's lift it up real easy. back out. I just lifted it up where I could see down in there and line it up better. Okay, there's that one. Shit, I had to light a frame again, didn't I? Damn it. I don't know how I'm going to edit this. That's why I hardly ever make videos assembling stuff, because I'm not used to trying to keep it in frame. Well, that ain't right. That don't look right. There we go. Now we're good. Had a little gap out there. Yeah, it turns easier. Alright, let me go hook it up and we'll see if it works, and I'll take y'all out there when I get hooked up. Let me hook the battery back up. Oh, I got all kinds of stuff on the hood, of course. Let's see if we can lift it without dumping it. And we did. Alright, here goes. Let's see if it lets the smoke out. Hear it clicking that brake. That noise you hear is, remember how that one brake lever was this way, and then that other piece that's turning it, and it's click, and when it turns it and locks them together. I keep losing my battery. hot because it ain't tight. Alright boys, she's working. Done. Not too bad, you know. The worn winches are expensive winches, but when I've been wheeling, I've told y'all for my shit my whole life, and I remember when Warren come out with their, you know, winches, and they were super expensive then, and nobody else sold. I don't know though. I don't think they've went up much in the last 20 years. I know those Xeons are expensive, but the old Warren winches back in the day, which they were the man, they were expensive too. But as far for an entry-level winch, I've had that thing for 3 years, and y'all see what I do with it. And it had a little bit of damage inside of it, but it wasn't nothing, you know, broken. Just wear. And I think that it's still got that little bit of play, but it doesn't affect the winch. We seen how it was made. Yeah, I could only imagine where we got the bushings on the side of the drum here. You know, the tighter that gets pulling on it, the more it's got to put pressure on them bushings, the more harder it is for it to turn the drum. If you imagine if that was a roller bearing right there, the Xeon might have a roller bearing there. I don't know. But we'll know in a few years when I tear it up, because we'll tear it apart and see. But it said it had a, I seen one thing said it had a lifetime warranty, and one said it had 10 years. But you know, if I break it, damage it, whatever, the way you damage a winch is to fill it up with mud and water, right? Or not have it strapped down good and it bends and breaks the base, or low voltage. Low voltage, you get them quick, because the lower the voltage gets, the higher the amps go, the amp draw, and that's what cooks those brushes. The wire on that brush, that's what cooks it, is low voltage. Lower voltage equals higher amperage. So when you are winching and you're sitting there at 12, 13 volts, and you start winching and you see your needle pegging down to 7 or 8, you need to get out of the winch and let it build up and just keep bumping it until it starts moving. I always give myself a good hard pull until I see it, feel it starting to bind up the winch, and then I'll try to drive forward, and then I give it a little bit more, and that's how I do it. But I also have 3 batteries in my Jeep, so that little Xeon's going to be winging with 3 batteries on it. So, and that's one reason this 8 works so good in my Jeep, is because I got 2 6-volts in the back and that Optima in the front, so it's got plenty of voltage. It don't drop off on voltage. But low voltage will kill them. If you are winching and you see your voltmeter dropping down to 8, 7, whatever, you see your battery light come on, you need to get off that winch, because that's what burns them up. It'll smoke it out. But that Xeon's got a shunt on it. It's actually got a little microprocessor in it with a shunt on the hot side coming in, and it reads amps. And if it gets, say if your voltage got too low and your amp draw went up, then it'll probably kick it out until it gets back up, which is good. It's better than those little, you know, circuit breakers that they have. That's the same thing a lift truck's got. If the amps and the motor gets too high from a dead battery, usually what causes that, it'll shut the lift off, and it'll keep doing that till the battery's at the right voltage. As soon as you stall it out and the battery voltage gets so low, the amperage goes up, it'll fry the motors, it fries everything. It happens all the time at work. Alright, boys. We'll see y'all Saturday. That winch should be here by then, hopefully, and we'll put the bumper back on Betty and get the winch back on and hooked up, and then we'll start figuring what we're going to do with this. I've got to clean up. That's next, so I know y'all don't want to watch that, so take it easy, guys. We'll holler at you later. Bye.